good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever day or time you are watching this, gang. You are very welcome back. So, just like before, I'm answering those pre-submitted questions that you were so kind to send across to me over on Instagram. So, we'll get straight into this topic. The question is, what is the abs system? Now, most of you following most likely know what abs powerlifting is. Advanced Barbell Systems Powerlifting Club. So what is the system? So this is something that, in my experience, has been a very beneficial sequence of programming, I suppose you would say. So that's fundamentally what it is. The abs, or the Advanced Barbell System, is a program in the strictest sense of what people do when they go to a gym or they compete in a sport or they lift weights. They do it under a program facilitating frequency, intensity, type and time, and progressive overload, adaptation, etc. In powerlifting, we're trying to adapt to 3 moves: the squat, the bench, and the deadlift. So what exactly does the system do? So the first things first, what happens is when you join this club, you are given this program, the system, and it's usually laid out weeks in advance, taking it all the way through to whatever the next likely competition you are to compete in is. So especially if you're just on a standard membership like myself, you don't get individual coaching one-on-one, you join the group sessions. So what that means is, if I'm training, let's say, alongside like my training partners like Vinny, Mario, Evan, Keane Madden, or Jake Brennan, it doesn't matter who's there, we will be supervised by one of the abs coaches, and they will make calls and corrections on what we're doing. They may change what we're meant to do that day. Like, so for example, the way it's laid out is, every Thursday is your deadlift day, so deadlift's your big move. Every Sunday is your squat day, so squat's your big move. And there's usually going to be some kind of work around that other than just your comp squat, your comp deadlift, and that can be changed based on your individual needs. So it is a team training environment. That is the idea. It's not necessarily meant for people to take and go do by themselves. You're meant to train in a rack with your friends or with your teammates. Now, naturally, that's impossible for the most part at the moment. I'm lucky that one of my training partners lives with me, and as you can see, I've got a setup here. So that changes things for me. I can train in that team environment. So how then, if, for example, we've got 60, 80, 100 athletes, do you just give them all a generic program? Like, suppose, like, if you, again, understand, I suppose, for anyone that is unaware, it goes in tiers when you join abs. So if you want a fully individualized program that's written like week to week for you, based exactly how you're getting on, you can do that. That's fine. That's an option. You can purchase that. For somebody like me, I'm an experienced coach, so I can make calls myself and confer with the coaches in abs to make the program more individual for me. So basically, when you join, if you join on a standard membership like I have, or Vinny has, or Evan has, or Mario has, you'll be given the system, and through repetition, through iteration, and running it over and over. So you might run it, let's say, twice, and from between the first time and the second time, you might make these adjustments. And then through the second, third, fourth time, you'll make these adjustments. You may discover over time, for example, you know what, I really don't like to deadlift more than twice a week. I don't like to squat more than 3 times a week, but I could bench 6 times a week if I had to. So that will become apparent over time, which may not be immediately apparent when you first start. So it's a way of sussing out where people are while still facilitating them getting fitter, stronger, and better. I suppose another big aspect of it as well is it builds camaraderie. If everyone is essentially doing things on the same day, and you're usually running the same program, or at least similar enough that you can train together and work on the same rack. Not everyone is doing exactly the same thing, but the theme of the day is usually the same. Like I mentioned, the deadlifts are on a Thursday, the squats are on a Sunday. This builds a massive degree of camaraderie, because there is camaraderie in sharing a mutual task, and it also requires a certain degree of discipline. Not everyone wants to deadlift on a Thursday. And not everybody wants to get up on a Sunday to go and do their squats. Some people want to rest on a Sunday and sleep in, and that's fine. But that's part of what this is. As a club, as a team effort, the idea is that you will rise to the occasion. You will delay gratification and offset, a nice comfortable Sunday in bed to come do your heavy ass squats. That is a team building exercise, which I've definitely found. I know my own training has gotten better because I train alongside my friends, my comrades, my teammates, you know what I'm saying? So I've definitely gotten the benefit of that. And it is a club mentality. Like, look around. Of abs banners, I'm wearing an abs t-shirt. I'm not going to show you, but I'm wearing abs shorts. So it definitely builds a certain degree of club identity, a club mentality, and there's a certain, like, human beings are tribal by nature. So being able to identify with somebody, at least in that sense, like, look, we're all wearing the same uniform, we're all playing the same game, we're on the same team, so it doesn't matter what we do outside of here, we are, on the same team right now. So that's a good thing. And training in that environment with those people that, like, I've squatted on the same bars, Eamon Hartford, Ben Crowell, Jake Brennan, Hercules, Ger Buckley, these big, strong, powerful dudes. I've shared a rack with those guys in the past, and that's pushed me to get better, knowing that I've got all these strong dudes around me. So they're spotting me, they're teaching me, they're showing me how to do things, like wrapping my knees or using a squat bar, using a monolift, giving me cues that maybe I wouldn't see elsewhere. It's a very different thing than training in a commercial gym, is what I'm getting at. So the system is all encompassing of this mentality and this idea. The practicality of it is, sure, I know people could level some criticism and say, well, you should surely build an individualized program around an athlete. And I absolutely agree. I think you should. Again, as far as I'm aware, abs have several tiers of joining that you can go and get this type of training, because they have some very, very good high quality coaches that have their own biases, let's just say, or their own ways of doing things that may, you might have an athlete who trains with, let's say, Louis Warren, and then you may have an athlete that trains with Cian Madden or Anna Huran, and they may all do different things or perform different ways or have different priorities in their training based on what that athlete needs and how that coach realizes that in their program or perceives what they think they are going to need to do next, or a certain go-to. That's been my experience. Now, look, I could be completely wrong, but that I've been a member for basically just 2 years now, actually just this past week, 2 years. And that's been my experience. Now, I've iterated on the program as well. I've spoken to the coaches. As I said, I'm lucky to have the experience of being a coach. So I know where to make calls myself while conferring with the guys there to make smart decisions. I know what works for me and I know what hasn't worked for me. And through iteration, I've gotten better and I've gotten fitter and stronger. I think that's beyond debate. Like, I've taken my bench from 142.5 kilos to 170 kilos, which for me is a pretty big deal. I never thought I'd ever bench anything like that, so I'm quite happy with that. Same with my squat. My squat's progressed nicely, and so is my deadlift. So I would say that is ultimately what the system is. It's all these things encompassed around team training, building reputations, building camaraderie, I meant to say. So you're training as a team, you're building camaraderie, you are pushing each other to improve, as most people do, but then there's certain amounts of discipline around, well, this happens on this day, this happens on this day, you're meant to be here for this time, you're meant to train for this song, you're meant to do these accessories, etc., etc. And as I said, I do think there is an element of things having to be personalized towards the athlete, which can happen with the coaches, or running the system, the template program on iteration. So over time, it will individualize itself to you if you're working alongside the coaches. So I hope that answers that question. It's a topic, like, I'm not an abs coach, so your best bet would be to talk to those guys. You can always message the abs powerlifting page on Instagram, the website. I believe there is a submission form. The coaches all have Instagram as far as I know. I'm sure you could message them. and get into a dialogue with them as to what they see it as. But in my experience, that is what encompasses it. I enjoy doing that style of training. I'm a bit of a glutton for punishment, so I like long, grueling sessions, and this method of programming allows me to do that. But I'm this sadist that puts more in as well. It may be less than productive. I'm sure there's guys out there that like know an awful lot about training and say, well, you know, more is not always better, and I totally agree. I'm just a bit tapped, and that's what I like. In any case, I do appreciate the question. I don't want to say I had trouble, but I was definitely like thinking about how to answer this, because I suppose the question is an offshoot to something else. The person obviously has an opinion or has seen something elsewhere contrary to the idea of what this might be. So I thought I'd do my best to answer here, and hope that is very clear. This is what I see it as. It's a team environment. Everyone is working through the same template, but in their own unique way, as they've learned over time. So your squat day, like everyone obviously in powerlifting is going to squat and deadlift at least once a week. So those days are going to be the Thursday and Sunday. And bench is usually Friday, incidentally. Anyway, I'm going to leave that one there. Let me know your thoughts. If you're a member of ABS, or if you're one of the coaches and you've watched this, I'd love to have some dialogue about this, because I answered this as best as I could. If you're somebody that is, you know, peripherally interested or involved in powerlifting, and if it answered a question for you, or if I raised more questions, please, let's have that dialogue. And same, if you're somebody from another club, or if you used to be in ABS and maybe that wasn't your experience, let me know. Discussion is one of the best things we have from social media. We can have reasonable discourse. We can be given food for thought. I don't agree with everything I see online. It doesn't have to be an argument. I've learned an awful lot from the people I disagree with, and the ones that I agree with. Somebody may, if you agree with them, just iterate on a point that you already agreed with. Or if somebody disagrees or has a follow-up question, it might highlight something you didn't even think of. So, I do hope that is clear. I hope I've delivered it in a way that makes sense, and you enjoyed the video. Gang, I'm going to get out of here. Thanks very much. Hopefully that answers your question on the ABS system, and we'll catch you across here again in the next one. As I said, remember, Instagram, if you see one of those question boxes go up, please do send me a question. It can be anything. I will post one for an AMA soon enough. I think I posted one last time. I'll do another one. I want you to send me in your questions. I'm sure you guys are interested. You've got some unique thoughts, so why not share them? Let's have a discussion. Let's talk. Let's see what you can come up with. Don't worry, I'm not going to say who sent them in. So if it's something absolutely outrageous, you're not going to get named and shamed. But let's have some good discussions, gang. That's the beauty of this, the age we're in. Like, we're all living in some degree of restriction, and we could all do with some entertaining or worthwhile or educational content, and that's what I'm here to provide. And you're going to help me do that, all right? I'm out of here. Have a good one.